Okay.
Okay, so I obviously had railroads. Where were the railroads? Prior to the expansion in the 1860s, there are strands of railroad tracks mainly in the east. You can see that there's minimal transportation throughout the United States. And then after the railroads on that one, by the time the 1900s rolled around, railroads were more known as the arteries of the nation because they connected to all corners of the United States. The Transcontinental Railroad. So the blue and red lines on the map represent the Transcontinental Railroad, starting in Sacramento, California, and ending in Omaha, Nebraska. The black lines with the tick marks represent the other railways connecting to the main system. The Pacific Railway Act gave the federal government the right to cover the cost of the Transcontinental Railroad. It was the first time the West was connected to the North and South, and it caused competition to see who could put down the most mileage of railroad before they joined. It also was able to transfer faster due to fast and furious labor from the Chinese. So the standard time zone was split into 4 different zones: Pacific, Mountain, Central, and Eastern, represented on the map. Without time zones, the country's way of communication was more broken, which caused confusion, especially in the train schedules. On November 18, 1883, that all changed with the concept of standard time. Though many were apprehensive to the new notion, people warmed up to the idea when confusion was minimized and time was universally understood. This was also, that's a picture of a crash, so it minimized crashes as well if they're all on the same schedule. The effect railroads had on the economy. So the picture represents herding cattle in 1866. There are many ways that the railroads affected the economy, one being the meat industry. Refrigerated railroad cars were huge contributors to shipping meat around the country. Due to the new trade routes, industries boomed because they were able to transport their goods much easier, faster, and cheaper. Also, land grants were given to the railroad companies, which led to the blossom of cities. How railroads impacted politics. So men like Cornelius Vanderbilt made great fortune through development of railroads and used their power to monopolize and make decisions. The Interstate Commerce Act that occurred in 1887 told the railroad companies they had to be consistent with rates, etc. This was the first act that addressed regulating a business for the greater good of the people. So who contributed to the building of railroads? The photo on the bottom left is people working to lay the tracks of a railroad, and the bottom right is the same thing. What first drew people to the United States from China was the gold rush in California in 1848. In 1865, many Chinese immigrants were hired to do the very dangerous jobs on the railways. Due to the fact that the Chinese were willing to do the risky, life-threatening jobs, the whites felt a great deal of competition, leading to the inequality between immigrants and those native to the United States. Railroads creating cities. So the pictures represents towns to cities, and the top picture represents how people got there via railroads. When cities began to develop, people were able to move their lives more easily, and because of that, it brought economic opportunity. People were drawn to them and therefore migrated to them through the railroads. Most cities developed near rivers and railroad hubs because they were able to stay connected with the rest of the country and support their economies.
So what's your, wait, come back. What do you think?
Oops.
Oh, so what's your photos of?
So that's like a town, and then there's a city, and that's how they got from.
So is that the same town that's now become a city?
No.
Oh.
I don't know, actually. I have no idea.
That would be really cool.
Oops.
It was.
Oh my gosh. There we go. Okay. How railroads impacted America socially and culturally. The pictures represent different cultures coming to America throughout 1865 to the 1900s, and the photo in the top left represents the inside of a railroad cart. So, due to the great deal of immigration happening over the period of time, a melting pot was created with an assortment of cultures: the Chinese workforce, slaves from the south, and white settlers from the east. The population resulted in a vastly diverse community, all striving for success and dominance. And there's the sources.